Welcome to Everyday English in Canada. This is not just another English channel. This is your space to learn, to practice, and to grow with real stories, real examples, and real courage, just like the one you're about to watch today. Here you will discover that English is not only grammar rules and vocabulary lists. English is a tool that opens doors, connects cultures, and transforms dreams into reality. Every video will bring you something practical, phrases, tips, and strategies you can use immediately in your daily life. So if you want to improve your English, if you want to feel more confident when you speak, and if you want to learn in a way that feels natural and inspiring, you are in the right place. Before we start, I have one small mission for you. Click like on this video. It helps us bring this content to more people who, just like you, want to unlock their English. Write a short phrase in the comments. Something simple like, "I'm learning English every day," or "I want to speak with confidence." This way, you are already practicing while you interact with us. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend who is also on this journey. Together, step by step, we will transform English from something you study into something you live. Now let's begin today's story. Imagine a young man far from home, standing at the threshold of a new chapter in life. His name is Alexei. Born and raised in Russia, he had always dreamed of studying abroad. And now, after years of preparation, that dream has brought him across the ocean, to a land both welcoming and unfamiliar. Canada. Alexei arrived in the middle of autumn, when the streets were painted with fiery shades of red and gold, and the crisp air carried with it the promise of change. Everything around him felt different. The language, the food, the rhythm of daily life. Even the way people greeted one another was new to him. But beyond the culture shock and the moments of solitude, there was a sense of excitement. He wasn't just a visitor. He was here to build something new. For Alexei, the most pressing challenge was language. Back in Russia, he had studied English, but only at a basic level. He could understand simple conversations, order food at a cafe, and introduce himself. But standing in a classroom, facing classmates from around the world, was an entirely different story. The real test came when his professor announced the semester's first major assignment, a presentation entirely in English, delivered in front of the class. At first, panic set in. The very idea of speaking publicly in a language that was not his own filled him with fear. His vocabulary was limited, his accent heavy, and his thoughts sometimes felt like they got lost in translation. And yet, Alexei knew he couldn't avoid it. This was the moment to prove, to himself most of all, that he could rise to the challenge. He spent nights at his desk, headphones on, listening to recordings in English. He watched Canadian documentaries, repeated words out loud, and filled notebooks with new phrases. More importantly, he began to search for a story, something powerful and meaningful, that he could share with his classmates. He didn't want to stand in front of them and simply read facts. He wanted to connect. That search led him to discover one of the most defining stories in Canadian culture, a story of resilience, identity, and community. He decided that his presentation would not just be about dates or events. It would be about people, about history that still echoes today, and about how those moments shaped the nation he now called home. The morning of the presentation arrived. The classroom was quiet, filled with the low hum of conversations as students prepared their notes. Alexei sat near the front, his heart racing, his hands trembling slightly as he held onto his papers. His professor called his name, and suddenly it was time. He rose slowly, every step toward the front of the class feeling heavier than the last. The room seemed larger than usual, the faces of his classmates sharper, more attentive. They looked at him with curiosity, some with supportive smiles, others with neutral expressions. For Alexei, it felt like all eyes in the world were on him. He placed his notes on the podium and took a deep breath. Inside, he reminded himself of all the hours he had practiced, the words he had rehearsed, the courage it had taken to get here. This was more than just an academic assignment, it was a personal milestone. Behind him, a screen displayed the title of his story. It was about Canada's past, about a chapter in history that had shaped its identity. Though he struggled to find the right words at times, Alexei was determined to tell it with honesty and respect. He wasn't just reciting information. He was bridging cultures, his own and the one he was learning to embrace. The class waited in silence. Some leaned forward, curious to hear what he had chosen. Others prepared to take notes. And there, in that quiet anticipation, Alexei realized something important. His classmates weren't expecting perfection. They were expecting authenticity. They wanted to hear his perspective, his effort, his voice. With one final breath, Alexei looked up from his notes. His eyes met those of his professor, who nodded gently, as if to say, "Go ahead, we're listening." And so, Alexei began to speak.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexei. I come from Russia, and I moved to Canada a few months ago. This is my first time speaking in front of a class in English. I feel nervous, and maybe I will make mistakes, but I hope you can understand me. For me, this is not only an assignment for school, it is also a personal challenge. I want to show myself that I can do this, and I want to learn from this moment. When I arrived in Canada, everything was new. The streets looked different. The houses looked different. Even the way people walked and talked felt new to me. I noticed that Canadians are very polite. They say sorry and thank you all the time, even for very small things. I found it interesting and sometimes funny. The weather was also something that surprised me. In Russia, winters are cold, yes. But in Canada, the autumn itself felt already strong, with winds and with colors in the trees that I had never seen before. I started to realize that Canada is not only a place, it is a culture, a history, and a way of life. When I knew that I had to prepare a presentation, I did not want to talk only about myself or about general facts. I wanted to choose a story that is important for Canada, a story that tells me something about the people here, about what they believe and what they value. I searched online, I watched videos, I read simple articles, and finally I found one story that touched my heart very deeply. It is the story of a young man called Terry Fox. Terry Fox was not a famous politician or a rich person. He was just a normal young man, like many students, full of energy and dreams. But when he was 18 years old, something terrible happened. He was diagnosed with cancer. The doctors had to amputate one of his legs. For many people, this would be the end of their dreams, the end of their hope. But for Terry, it was only the beginning of something bigger. Instead of giving up, Terry decided to do something incredible. He decided to run across Canada. Imagine that, a country so big, and a young man with an artificial leg deciding to run through it. But his goal was not just to prove his strength. He wanted to raise money for cancer research, and he wanted to give hope to people who were fighting the same disease. He called his journey the Marathon of Hope. In 1980, Terry started running in the east of Canada. Every single day, he ran about 40 kilometers. Rain, sun, wind, it did not matter. He continued. At the beginning, not many people knew him. But soon, people started to notice. Drivers stopped their cars to cheer for him. Families came out of their houses to watch him pass by. Children ran beside him for a few meters. People gave donations, sometimes just a few coins, sometimes much more. The media began to talk about him, and soon, the entire country was following his steps. Terry ran for 143 days. He ran more than 5,000 kilometers. But sadly, he could not finish his dream. The cancer returned, and his body was too weak to continue. He had to stop running. Not long after, he passed away. He was only 22 years old, but his story did not stop with his death. Canadians did not forget him. They remembered his courage, his determination, and his heart. They continued his mission. Every year, in Canada and in many countries, people organize the Terry Fox Run. It is not a competition. It is not about who runs faster. It is about continuing his dream, raising money for research, and showing that hope is stronger than pain. Until today, millions of dollars have been collected because of his legacy. For me, when I read about Terry Fox, I felt something very strong. I felt that this story is not only about Canada. It is about humanity. It is about how one person, with courage and with love for others, can change the world. He did not wait to be perfect. He did not wait for the right moment. He started with what he had, and he gave everything. I also feel a personal connection with his story. Of course, I am not running across a country, and I am not fighting a disease like cancer. But I am fighting with myself, with my fear, with my limits. Speaking English is difficult for me. Standing here in front of all of you is difficult for me. Sometimes I feel that my words are not enough, that my accent is too strong, or that my grammar is not correct. But when I think of Terry Fox, I remember that progress is made step by step, not all at once. He showed that even if you cannot finish everything, even if your dream seems too big, the important thing is to continue, to inspire, and to never stop trying. That is what I want to learn here in Canada. Not only English, not only academic knowledge, but also courage, resilience, and the ability to give something positive to the people around me. So today, with my small presentation, I want to honor Terry Fox, and also to honor all the people in Canada who continue his legacy. And I want to thank all of you, my classmates, for listening to me, for being patient with my English, and for sharing this moment with me. Thank you very much.
The classroom is silent for a moment after Alexei finishes. His last words echo softly, and then the applause begins. First, a few claps, and then the whole class joins in. His professor smiles proudly, and his classmates nod with respect. Alexei exhales with relief, his hands still trembling, but his heart filled with something new, confidence. He did it. His English was not perfect, his grammar had mistakes, his accent was strong, but none of that mattered. What mattered was his courage to stand, to speak, and to share. In that moment, he discovered something powerful. Fluency is not born in silence. It is born in action, in mistakes, in practice, and in the courage to keep trying. And this is where the lesson begins, not only for Alexei, but for all of us. If you want to unlock your English, you must accept imperfection. You must accept that sometimes your sentences will not be complete. Sometimes your pronunciation will be strange. Sometimes people will not understand you the first time. And that is okay. Because the only way to move forward is to speak. Think about it. Children learn to talk by trying, by repeating, by saying the wrong words again and again until they say them right. They are not afraid of making mistakes, and that is why they learn so fast. Adults, on the other hand, often wait until they feel ready, until they know enough, until they believe they can speak perfect English. But that moment never comes. The truth is, you will never feel completely ready. The only way to get ready is to begin. So, how can we begin? Let's start with very simple phrases. Phrases you can use in daily life, just like tools in your pocket. These are expressions that you can practice again and again until they feel natural. For example, when you meet someone, do not overthink. You can simply say, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. My name is..." When you need something, but don't know the exact words, you can say, "Can you help me, please? I don't know this word in English. Can you say that again, slowly?" When you want to join a conversation, you can use, "Sorry, can I ask something? I think, in my opinion." And when you make a mistake, do not hide. Just smile and say, "Sorry, my English is not perfect, but I am learning." This sentence alone opens doors, because people understand your effort and they want to help you. Remember, confidence is not speaking without mistakes. Confidence is speaking despite the mistakes. Think about Alexei. He stood in front of a classroom with fear, with doubts, but he spoke. And because he spoke, he grew. The same can happen to you. Every time you use English in a real situation, ordering coffee, asking for directions, introducing yourself, you are training your mind and your mouth. You are building muscles of language, little by little. Let me give you a small exercise you can try today. Choose one phrase, very simple, and repeat it 5 times out loud. For example, "Can I have a coffee, please?" Say it slowly the first time, then repeat it faster, then with a smile, then imagine you are really inside a cafe. By the 5th time, it will feel natural. This is how we train English, not only by studying rules, but by speaking and repeating. Another important tip: use English every day in small moments. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Describe what you are doing. "I am cooking dinner." I'm going to work. I am writing a message. It may sound simple, but these daily phrases are the foundation of fluency. And do not forget, mistakes are your friends. Every time you say something wrong, your brain pays attention. The next time you get a little closer to the right way. This is how progress works. So the lesson we take from Alexei is this: courage first, fluency later. You do not wait for the perfect English to begin. You begin, and that is how your English becomes better. From now on, whenever you feel nervous, remember Alexei standing in front of his class. Remember that he had only basic English, but he still managed to share an important story. If he can do it, so can you. And the next time you want to speak English but feel afraid, just tell yourself, "I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be brave," because bravery unlocks the door. And once the door is open, fluency will follow. And that brings us to the end of today's video. We saw how Alexei, with courage and determination, faced his fears and spoke in English, even when it wasn't perfect. His story reminds us that progress comes from action, from trying, and from never giving up. If you watched until here, thank you so much for being part of Everyday English in Canada. Your time and your dedication mean a lot. Remember, every video you watch, every phrase you repeat, every word you practice brings you one step closer to confidence. Now, I invite you to take action. If this video inspired you, click like. It helps our channel grow and reach more learners around the world. Write a comment below using a phrase in English. It can be something simple like, "I am learning step by step," or I will speak with courage. This way, you are already practicing. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone you know who also wants to improve their English. Together, we are building not just language skills, but a community of learners who believe in progress, courage, and connection. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next lesson.